Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dstroyd Podcast. Today, I'm here with a very special guest for this first episode. Introducing a guy that I grew up with just down the road in Chatham, Ontario, and a great basketball player back in high school and post-secondary. Please, ladies and gentlemen, Alec McGregor. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for coming on this show, man. Couldn't think of a better first guest to bring on than one of my best pals.
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me. It should be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. Alrighty, let's get down to business, man. You know, you and I, we've known each other for a while. What was your childhood like, man? I want to get your story on how your childhood was back in Chatham.
I love growing up in Chatham. I've always said, I love growing up in a small town. It's great to have a small town feel. I've got a lot of friends at school that are from all over the world, big cities. And after hearing about their experiences and everything, I love growing up in a small town. Great sense of community. You know everyone. All your friends live close by. You just bike down to their house when you're little. It was great. I loved it.
Oh yeah, man. Very nice and convenient for a small town. And now you're in Toronto now for school, so that's definitely a big change for you. And I'm sure you're adjusting well to that. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I just wanted to get your sense because you and I, we both played basketball in our earlier years, like for elementary and high school. Um, how young were you when you first started playing basketball, and how did you find your passion for the game?
I remember my first basketball camp was probably about 5 years old at Indian Creek, just around the corner. That was the first time I ever played in a gym, like in an actual kind of basketball camp feel. So doing that, and then I started playing travel basketball at about 8. That was the first time I played on an actual team for the Chatham Wildcats. So that was a lot of fun. Kept doing that, and I think the first time I really started loving the game and really appreciating it for what it was when I started doing some bigger things. I started playing for Riverside down in the States in grade 5. Doing some AAU stuff with them. That was pretty eye-opening, playing with some guys down there, playing against 6-footers at 10 years old. That was pretty wild. And then, in grade 6, going to some Ontario camps, playing against some big names like RJ Barrett and those kind of guys. So that was a lot of fun, pretty eye-opening, and, it really helped me grow my love for the game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I didn't know you played against RJ. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, he was dynamite in grade 6 too. He was already a big guy, so he's lived up to the hype.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome. And speaking of like those types of players and like in the NBA and all that stuff, since you started at a pretty young age, who was your favorite player growing up? Who did you idolize the most?
You know what? I never really had a favorite player growing up. I never really had one guy that I idolized or anything. When I grew up, I always loved watching hoop mixtapes and Ball is Life. So I feel like all those guys, if you got a sick mixtape like John Wall or Andrew Wiggins or something, I really started following you in college and in the league if you made it to the league. But other than that, I never really had any big guys in the league that I followed. Nowadays, I love watching Dame Lillard and Kevin Durant. I think those guys have really cool games, crazy scorers. I love watching them. But growing up, I never really had a number one guy that I like to follow.
Oh, wow, nice. Yeah, because between you and me, you started pretty early. I started pretty later, and I started idolizing Derrick Rose and Kobe, those two, because I started playing travel when I was maybe around 12, and it was by the time that you left for Riverside.
Yeah,
because it was my one thing. It's I'll go to the Wildcats. I'll play with Alec. And as soon as I show up, it's oh, Alec's down in Windsor. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was wild. I had no idea you were even coming. It was honestly a decision that I was trying to make before the grade 7 season even started, before I knew you were even coming. So it was already set in my mind I was going.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I had no idea until that summer. I was like, all right, screw it. Let me give it a try, right? Yeah. But so besides basketball, and we'll go back to your childhood a little bit, what other sports did you pick up along the way? What was something to keep you active or just for strict entertainment?
I basically tried everything when I was growing up. soccer when I was little, hockey, baseball. I did tennis camps when I was little, basically everything. And then when I got to high school, I focused on the 3 sports that I liked the most, which was basketball, of course. And then I also played volleyball and track. I played volleyball grade 9, 10, 11. Every year I did it at McGregor. Loved doing that. It was a lot of fun. And then track was actually probably my second favorite sport. I was a big long jump, triple jump guy. Did pretty well in that as well. So yeah, did those, but eventually I had to focus on basketball, just focus on one sport, And so I picked that in about grade 11 and cut everything else out of the way.
Yeah, especially for track, you had the great hops for it. Like, it was pretty natural for you. Especially, I remember watching you do long jump and triple jumps. Like, damn, like if I had hops like that, holy. But I'm not surprised that that's your second favorite. I didn't know that. I remember you and I played volleyball together, or like against each other in high school, and I knew it's like, yeah, he's a decent setter, but I know his heart's on basketball. So
yeah, maybe the reason I didn't like volleyball too much because you guys would always smack us every game.
Yeah, just one game. It's like, I hope I don't spike it right on Alex's head, but yeah, man. Oh, and like, I love your parents, man, both Colin and Gail. Like, what impact did they have on your life for your childhood and heading up into your high school days? What impact did they have on you?
Oh, they had a great impact, driving me to every game. Well, basketball specifically, driving every game, tournament, practice, always there. I always had a ride, always had some help from them. And they were always supporting. My dad especially was at every game. My mom tended to travel with my sister when she did horseback riding, so my mom traveled with my sister a lot more. But they both made it out whenever they could, all the time. They were a great impact, very encouraging all the time. All the best goes out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and all my best out to them too. I miss them for sure. And I was trying to get like a little backtrack on like early in our connection. Do you remember the first time you and I met? It was a while back for sure.
You know what? The funniest story I have about this is I remember specifically the first time we played against each other was grade 8, or was it grade 7 or 8? It was one of those years, and I was on Riverside and we played you guys, and you were playing for Chatham. And, we were playing, I've never seen you play before. And, halfway through the game, this guy in Chatham was getting every single damn rebound and just putting it back up. And we're like, who the hell is this guy? Someone was telling me he was doing. And I've never played you before. We were like, damn, who is this guy? So that's my fondest memory of first playing against you at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I remember actually the first time I actually met you, like, this is like probably back when we were maybe 10, like 9 or 10. Do you remember Maple City Golf Course, like those like Saturday morning? Yeah, those Saturday mornings, like we would just go in groups, like do skills first, and then we just go in groups and like play like 9 holes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was you, me, and I think like Xander Parks and like a few other guys. But that was like my earliest memory. It was when your hair was just like extremely blonde and puffy. That's like my earliest memory. And I can't remember the first time we actually encountered, but that's like the first thing that you and I really did, right?
Yeah, there's another sport we both played when we were younger with golf. I didn't even mention that.
Yeah,
that
right?
was a lot of fun too. I remember that.
Yeah, great memories, man. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. So let's go back to travel. What were some of your favorite moments as like a travel basketball player, especially starting in like grade 5, right? So what would be some of the memories that stand out to you, like any good games or anything?
Well, I remember my best memory probably of high school basketball was very recently, actually. I was on to play for Compass from London in grade 12. And it was the semifinals of our CYVL final tournament. That was the Canadian League, all the GTA teams, all the best GTA teams. And we were playing CIA Bounce in the semis, who was the big Nike team, the big ranked Nike team who plays in the UIB all over the States. And I remember showing up to the gym. Our team showed up way before them. and all their guys started coming in like really late, like 5 minutes before the game, hardly warming up. Like we overheard their coaches saying like, "Oh, what time's the finals?" They thought they were just gonna breeze through this team from London because we didn't have as many big name guys as them. So we had a few solid guns on our team, like me, Tommy, and Aaron Tennant, who are both awesome players in OUA right now. And we smacked them. We 40'd them.
Really?
Yeah, and it was the craziest game we played in. I remember we were up big at half, and they were like, "What the hell is going on? Who are these guys?" And then I think they just got down, and we just pounded them even more. And they were an awesome team. I didn't think we would get to them that big. I always thought it would be cool to play on a team like that, but it was awesome. Being able to hand it to a team like that in the semifinals of the final tournament of our league. That was a crazy experience.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, especially one team that thinks it's a walk in the park and you guys just take care of business. Like that's probably a very humbled feeling for sure. Yeah, man, holy. And I remember this one story, like hearing you play. It was back when you were in grade 9, and I remember you came back to the Wildcats. It was like briefly, and you played a year older. And
Yeah.
I remember one of your teammates was Sebastian DeSimone, that I went to high school with. Yeah, Savvy, man. What a great guy, man. And he was telling me about this one. I think it might have been provincials. It was like you hit a game winner out of the corner, and the way that he presented this story, it's like, dude, I can't believe it, man. Like this guy goes in, steps back in, two guys are right in front of him, goes right over, and I'm like, holy crap.
I remember that one too. Yeah, it was at the end of the game. It wasn't the last buzzer beater shot, I think. I'm pretty sure it was about with 20 seconds left or something.
Yeah, you said it was like down the
I got a
stretch.
shot in the corner, and I didn't have it right away, and I pump faked it, and I had to like kind of pivot a bit, and my legs were crossed. I think like my feet were crisscross. My feet were crisscrossed, and I just put it up, and I hit it. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I couldn't remember the full story, but it was like, yeah, Seb was going off about Alec that hit the shot. It was like, oh, it's funny, man. Oh man. So you said earlier when you first started playing basketball and it was at Indian Creek, that's the school that you went to for public school and convenient down the road. And then you decided to go to John McGregor, which was literally down the road as well, and definitely convenient. And I kind of look back at it, and it was between the Pines and McGregor for me when I first decided to like go into high school. And it's pretty convenient how you and I both have the same last name, and honestly, we're not related, even though you treat me like a brother. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty close enough. And we live down the road, and we pretty much do almost the exact same stuff as each other, playing basketball, taking business, all that sort of stuff. But then I went to the Pines, you went to McGregor. You were the king of McGregor, right?
A little bit. Nah.
Oh, it's just jokes, but I want to get your experience in at John McGregor. What was it like being a student there? What were some of your highlights? What you enjoyed the most?
I think the thing I liked most about McGregor was it was a smaller school. It was a smaller school behind the Pines and CK. So it had a great sense of community. I was able to be friends with. I had friends a year, 2 years, 3 years older than me when I was in grade 9. I was friends with some grade 12 guys and girls, and I think that was a lot of fun. Getting closer with those people, being able to learn from older kids. Feel belonged. Where maybe some bigger schools might be a little more cliquey. And you're not as comfortable there, but McGregor, I was always comfortable. It was cool having my last name as a school. Everyone always made jokes about that. But I know I love the sense of community. All the teachers, I had a good relationship with most of my teachers. I love the teachers at McGregor. They were awesome, helped me get great grades and get into a good school. So it was just a great sense of community. I loved it there.
Yeah, absolutely. And community is most important too. And you were very involved with McGregor, besides sports as well. I remember you did some Skoka Woods stuff as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Muskoka Woods was great. I did that for a year when I was in grade 11. Being able to help out the youngsters when I was up there and have a little fun. And it was great. CK was up there at the end, I think, and CK came at the end, but we were up there with like Tilbury and Ridgetown, I think. I didn't know too many kids from there, but it was fun, meeting some new people and having fun with the little kids from Indian Creek.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Pines had the similar experience, and I went there, I think, 4 times, and it was very nice. It was all the Catholic board, and great experience all 4 times for sure. Great memories. Um, so to basketball for high school, what were your main takeaways from your experience there? What were some of the like practices and games like? What was some of your memories from that?
McGregor, I think it taught me to be tough, a little tougher. We had some big vocal coaches at McGregor with Mr. Fung and Mr. Hanser, and they made it known. So practices, a lot of running. They taught you to be tough. Especially playing. I played senior in grade 10, and I was practicing with the senior team in grade 9 too. And so I was a pretty skinny kid back in high school. I didn't really put on too much weight until about grade 12 or 13. So when I was at McGregor, I was getting bullied in grade 10, playing against the older guys that were in grade 13 and like 19 years old in high school, and I was 15, just bullying me. So I think, really taught me to be tough. And then playing in the games, it was great that I was able to get so much playing time at a young age in grade 11 and grade 10. So, it taught me a lot, taught me to be tough. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, you definitely had great games, and I've witnessed them. I've battled against you over the years, and I've always wondered what was your pregame routine. I was always curious about this. What would be your mindset heading into those kind of games, like either like in a playoff or a tournament? What would be your mindset into that?
Well, music, of course, if there was AirPods back then, I would have worn AirPods all the time, but
Yeah.
I had to figure something else out every game. I think my biggest thing was always just make sure I got a good stretch, make sure the bounce is right before the game. And then shots. I was a big shooter. So I'd like, to start in close, take some close shots, hit them, move a little bit back, hit them, move a little bit farther back, hit them, and then keep going back and back and back until I was at like the volleyball line, probably. Shooting deep threes before the game. And then, so, if I was hitting the deep threes before the game, regular threes would feel easy. So that was my routine, get a little bit of that in and then just go into layup lines. We weren't allowed to dunk in high school with McGregor, but once I went prep at Southwest and playing for U of T, we were allowed to throw down and warm up. So, I always had to get some of those in.
Oh yeah, and I remember those days for Southwest. We'll get to that eventually too. And oh man, and speaking of music too, what were some of your favorite artists, and probably currently now? I know one of them is Trey Songz. I know that for sure.
My music taste bounces around. Pregame before basketball. I like Lil Baby, 21 Savage, a lot of those kind of guys. Like I just really listen to rap music before the game. But off the court, yeah, I'm a big R&B guy. Like I love The Weeknd, Party Next Door. You said like Trey Songz, Jeremiah, like all those kind of guys. I just can't be listening to rap all day. Like I feel like it would wire my head. I got to mellow out throughout the day. So yeah, R&B throughout the day and rap when I'm working out or playing ball.
Yeah, man. And as we're recording this, it is The Weeknd's birthday too. Being that
shout out
big
that
3-1. Yeah, how about that, right? Yeah, man. And I think I was slightly different. I think I was like a mix of different genres. There was like some games where if I really wanted to like bust my butt and like run as fast as I can in transition, I would just like listen to like some like rock music, and then at the same time I would listen to some rap in between. It'd be a blended thing as well. So you and I like slightly different, slightly similar. But let me get to Southwest, and that was an experience. I remember going to a couple of your games. I remember like taking a snap of you, like going in for warm ups, getting some pregame dunks in. What was that experience like? Because I know when you first got there, I remember when you first committed there with the announcement, it was like a fairly new program. So what was that like heading into that program? What did you learn most about that experience?
Yeah, Southwoods was great. I loved it. I think the biggest thing I took away from it was just the competition level. It was a competition level I never would have got playing high school basketball in Chatham. The league that we're in was the OSBA. Every single game was a challenge. Every single team we played had multiple D1 guys playing against guys that went to the league. So that was crazy. You don't get that in a small town. And practices were strong. I think it was the first time. I think my first practice I got there. Everyone wanted to get into every single drill, and if you don't just get in, you're sitting on the sidelines the whole practice, not doing anything, which was so different from McGregor or even playing travel basketball, where you don't even have enough guys sometimes to play 5-on-5, and so everyone has to get in every drill because you just have to. Or some guys don't want to, right? Not everyone has that motivation, but playing at Southwest, everyone wanted to get into every single drill. So if you're not motivated, you don't want to get into anything, you lose out and coach doesn't see you and you don't play. So it was just the competition level, I think, was the biggest thing I got from all that.
Yeah, wow. I actually didn't know that about how like Southwest worked there. I didn't know about like the whole standing in the sidelines if you don't get in, right? And that's definitely a different approach.
Well, yeah, that's every after I moved on from Chatham, I think every team I played on was like that. Southwest, with both years at Southwest, was like that. U of T's like that. It's just high level basketball, right? Like everyone wants to get in, everyone wants to show their stuff, prove their stuff. Everyone's motivated, so you got to show out if you want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes you a big way, especially being a dedicated player for sure. And with that
Mm-hmm.
strive. Yeah. So, and as well as your time at Southwest, you did play against the Melo Ball at one point. I remember you sent me multiple messages, and like I think you were on like maybe Ball's Life or something. Like you had a few clips guarding LaMelo Ball. What was that like, man?
It was a great experience. Playing Spire was fun. I think the coolest thing was I've never been in a game like that with so much media attention. You had slam there, overtime, whatever. Ticket prices were $100 for some tickets. Like it's just ridiculous, right? So playing in a game like that with all that media attention, it was wild. But I think within the game, everyone was a little nervous. But once he got in there, it was fine. LaMelo's a really good player. I think he was my matchup whenever I was in the court, just based on size. So he was cool. He was a good player, man. He was really good transition. That's what I gave him. He had a lot of transition buckets, dunks. Like he was playing really well. But the one player on their team that was awesome was Rocket Watts, who plays for Michigan State now, I think.
Yeah.
He shocked me. I think every time he got the ball, he did heavy crossover, and he could get around anyone. He hit every shot. He was the one who shocked me the most, I think.
Wow. Yeah. And I remember you telling me about him. It's like, no, not Mello. Like Watts guy. Like this guy's insane. Yeah. Which that was funny and really surreal to watch that whole highlight film. And I remember that one highlight you showed me. Like I think you had like a nice little floater, like right at the beginning of the clip, and then really it showcased some of the other guys.
Yeah.
But
But that's just how it is, man. Media shows what the people want to show, right? No one wants to see the team from London. They just want to see Melo ball out. So it is what it is.
yeah, he's like the prodigy of all media. So it really makes sense, especially at an early age, like scoring like 90 something or whatever, like 92. Sure, picking about 50 of those, but we'll just call it a day.
Hey man, he's the media's godchild. What can you do?
Right. So let me move on to like post-secondary, man. Like after your 2 years, what inspired you? And this is basically back into like John McGregor and like through your schooling. What motivated you to take business at U of T?
Well, I've always been interested in business. I was a big math guy in high school. I know not everyone is. Everyone's a little different when it comes to that. I feel like people hate math or they're good at it, and I was decent at it. And then business, I was comfortable with it. My dad's in the field. I know a lot of people in it. It has a high ceiling, for success once you come out of it. I think you can kind of do whatever you want with a business degree. So I thought that was the best path to pursue. And then, Rotman had a great business school, so it all kind of, the pieces all aligned.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, and I was very similar. I think based on what your dad does, it has some little inspiration and motivation to maybe go down those waters too. So that's great, man. And let me get into your experience in the varsity team for U of T. What was it like balancing both the workload that you had for business and competing every day at that level?
Well, first off, playing for U of T was great. I love the experience. It was a real family environment. I've never felt more like a part of a team before. It was a real family environment. Everyone loved each other. We were with each other every day. It was the most fun team I've ever played on. It was great. But balancing it was tricky. I've always been a guy that prides myself on doing well in school, as well as able to balance other things. And that was a big challenge for me, I think. And especially I dealt with some injuries in first year that put me out for most of the season. So it was tricky. I was in a position I've never been in before. So it's really tricky to balance it. You can do it both, but you can definitely do both, but it's tough I think, to succeed in both. And then also have some extra stuff and have some time for fun, time for yourself to do some other things. It's really difficult. It takes a very mentally tough person. So, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but dude, like I remember before you committed to, or like I think it was as you committed to UNT. I remember you went to the one game, or I don't know if this was like the year before. It was when Zion and RJ went and played UFT. You remember being at that game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me and my buddy Marshall, we're both on the same recruiting trip. Watching that UOT Duke game, I remember everyone told me they're like, oh, because I could have. I stayed back for grade 13. That was during my grade 13 year, and I could have committed that year instead. But I chose to stay back for grade 13, and everyone was like, oh, like you could have played Zion, you could have played RJ, like that would have been crazy. But then, we got to play Melo Ball in grade 13, so that was pretty cool experience too. So, decent trade-off. But that game was wild. I remember Zion had some crazy plays, but U of T, they stuck in there. They gave him a bit of a fight, so it was a pretty cool game to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Holy. Yeah, and I remember the one viral video where he just like did like a free throw line dunk like at like UFC's stadium. I thought that was pretty sick. Were you there when that happened?
No. I think I was with the team beforehand. They were practicing somewhere else, and Duke was practicing at the gym at the arena. So I wasn't there, but obviously we saw it all over social media. But that's just Zion. Zion. He's gonna do Zion things. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly, man. Tell me about your new role. Because I follow you on LinkedIn and like you're pretty heavy into business. Tell me about this new role that you have. You're like a sports sponsorship scout. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I got this internship for the winter term with this program called Sponsor United, with this firm called Sponsor United. So I'm labeled a sports sponsorship scout for Sponsorships United. So for the first month of it, they just take me through almost like a program, teaching me about their firm, how they do their things, taking me through all their databases, trying to teach me how to work around it. And now I'm just starting to actually work. So what we're going to be doing is tracking assets, different types of assets through pro sports games, stuff like advertisements, like billboards, just different types of media that show up throughout the game, video screens, logos, whatever people pay for, whatever firms pay for to have their logo shown at a sports game. And so we track all that stuff, put it in the database, and that creates a whole bunch of stuff and a big database for other firms. So we help out with all of that.
Wow, that's great, man. That's a great opportunity for you. I think that'll be a good experience, definitely for the future. That's awesome. Good for you, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks.
And let me go right into so COVID has been pretty bad, right? And what are your thoughts on it? Because we're now like in Ontario, we just got lifted with the lockdown, and I'm assuming we're just starting to open back things up. What do you predict about all of COVID for this year? What are your thoughts on it?
COVID's been tricky. Definitely not a favorable event. But we've managed. Been doing our thing inside. Able to work. I was able to work remotely last summer. Still have a job. Do school online this semester and last semester. I'm still able to be in Toronto, which is great. I love being up there with my friends. I'm still able to see some people. Obviously, with restrictions, it's tricky, but I got all my friends up in Toronto. It's great. So it's been all right, and hopefully by the summertime we're back somewhat normal. I'd love to say that it's going to be back to complete normal by the summer, but we could talk about this forever and argue about it forever. So who knows? Everyone's got their opinions on when it's going to be done, what's going to happen. I think all we can do is really just hope for the best and make the best out of what's going on right now.
Absolutely, man. Like that's basically the one thing that we keep in mind. And like for mine, it's like kind of like a question mark, really. And just a lot of people have different perspectives, and in time we'll see what happens. We'll see right in front of us, but till then, it's gonna be the next news headline. Just hope that it's like really good news, right? So it is what it is, just like you said.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly. And I'm very fortunate too, because when you came back for like for this first lockdown that we had almost a year ago now, and like I think by like May or something, you, myself, and our buddy Brandon Tatsu, like we all had some nice workout sessions like after the first lockdown. And that was I could tell you, man, I couldn't keep a straight face for like the first couple weeks. All the chatter that we had while we were lifting, I couldn't keep a straight face.
Oh yeah, man, you always gotta have fun. You're always having fun with us. I feel like it's never serious unless it has to be serious.
No, of course not. And it's all good laughs, and I love that. I remember going halfway up a rep, and like I was about to like dribble it down because like I was like laughing so hard.
Yeah, my bad on that one. I think I did that a lot. I crack a joke halfway through you're in a set, and you just started pissing yourself when you're. But it's all in good fun.
Oh yeah, and those are memories I'll cherish, and that's awesome. And final question, man, and I'm curious too, because like business and like being online and stuff, you're learning a lot. And what's your future plans, man? Like after your journey at U of T for business, like for like career or life wise, like what's up with that?
I think first up, I just want to finish up my degree at U of T, and collect as many experiences and meet as many great people as I can. University, it gives you a lot of great tools, to work with. So you got to take advantage of everything. And then once I graduate, we'll see, right? Maybe I'll start a job. Maybe I'd love to get my MBA done at some point, and then possibly my CFA, which is the Master of Business, and then a Chartered Financial Analyst. Because that'll help get me ahead in the business world. But whenever that happens, or if it happens, you never know. I think life's all about taking the next step in front of you, not worrying about too far in the future. So get that done, and then start working. I'd love to work in a bank, or and then move up investment banking, working in capital markets. I don't really know what I want to do yet. I think I just want to collect a lot of experiences working over the next few summers, and really figure out what I like the most. And then you never know. Maybe I'll be in medicine in 4 years. Who knows, man? Like anything can happen. That's pretty far out. Probably not, but anything can happen. I feel like so. I like to have a short-term goal and long-term goals, but take everything with a grain of salt, and just do what makes you happy, and whatever happens, man.
Yeah, and that's what's most important. Absolutely. And you definitely have a lot of ideas spreading around. And it's good to get a good little mindset with your journey. That's great, man. And I wish you all the best. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast, man. It means the world to me. Much love to you. And take care, man. You're great.
Thanks a lot, man. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Hey,
Later.
anytime.